What happens when one of the smartest people in history picks up the most controversial book of all time? No, not a conspiracy forum or a self-help bestseller, the Bible. Albert Einstein, the wild-haired genius of relativity, wasn't just thinking about space, time, and whether light had feelings. He also had thoughts about the Bible, and they were just as strange and brilliant as everything else he touched. Albert Einstein's relationship with religion didn't begin in a vacuum. He was born in 1879 to a secular Jewish family in the Kingdom of Württemberg in the German Empire. His parents weren't especially devout, and yet, as a young boy, Einstein became deeply religious, even to the point of composing his own hymns to God and singing them on his way to school. For a time, he devoured religious instruction, followed Jewish customs, and even tried to observe dietary laws. The young Einstein was enchanted by the moral stories of the Old Testament and drawn in by the grandeur of its cosmic order. But by the time he turned 12, something shifted. He discovered science books, and with them, doubts.
Through the reading of popular scientific books,
He later wrote,
I soon reached the conviction that much in the stories of the Bible could not be true.
He began to see contradictions between religious teachings and observable reality. Miracles didn't hold up to logic. Divine wrath didn't match the elegance of natural law. The pillars of his childhood faith began to crack under the pressure of reason. Yet he never replaced his religious curiosity with cynicism. What emerged instead was something rare, a reverence for the unknown, a commitment to humility in the face of cosmic design, and an unshakable sense that even without dogma, the universe was full of something sacred, even if that sacred didn't wear a beard or throw lightning bolts. But Einstein's views weren't always well received. In fact, some of the most vicious criticism he faced during his lifetime had little to do with physics and everything to do with religion. When his 1954 letter to philosopher Eric Gutkind surfaced, the one in which he dismissed the Bible as a collection of honorable but still primitive legends, it caused a stir. To some, it was confirmation that Einstein was a godless scientist, a threat to traditional values. To others, it was a profound and honest critique of how faith often stagnates. The backlash was swift. Religious publications accused him of arrogance. Secular thinkers accused him of hedging his beliefs. Some tried to reclaim him as a closet believer. Others wrote him off as just another skeptic. But Einstein defied categorization. He could say in one breath that he didn't believe in a personal God, and in the next, confessed to an overwhelming cosmic religious feeling that drove his work. He wasn't trying to appease anyone. He was simply telling the truth as he saw it. And the truth didn't come with a label. This tension followed him throughout his career. Journalists repeatedly tried to trap him into defining his faith. Was he a Jew, a pantheist, a deist, an agnostic? Einstein replied,
I am a deeply religious non-believer. This is a somewhat new kind of religion.
Even in America, where he had fled from Nazi Germany, he found himself surrounded by a public eager to fit him into a box. The media loved to quote him out of context, turning his reflections into slogans. But Einstein kept on. He kept writing, kept questioning, kept marveling. He didn't tear the Bible down. He wrestled with it, like Jacob at night. And when he was done, he walked away with something. Not belief, but understanding. Einstein once wrote,
The Jewish religion, like all other religions, is an incarnation of the most childish superstitions. And yet, the Jewish people, to whom I gladly belong, have shown an almost fanatical attachment to the traditions of their forefathers.
That's a little like roasting your family at Thanksgiving, then handing them dessert. He respected the moral messages tucked into the pages. He admired Jesus, not as a god, but as someone who knew how to stir hearts and challenge power. A kind of ancient philosopher with a bit of theater flair. He said,
I am enthralled by the luminous figure of the Nazarene.
He once described Jesus' teachings as the finest specimens of ethics. He didn't believe in miracles, but he did believe in meaning. And that's a kind of faith too. He often walked a tightrope between reverence and realism, capable of calling religion childish superstition in one breath, and expressing admiration for the cosmic religious feeling in another. This feeling, he said, was
the strongest and noblest motive for scientific research.
What was this feeling? It wasn't fear of divine punishment. It was wonder, the sense of order in the chaos, the quiet intelligence behind the laws of physics. Not a person, not a plan, but a presence, subtle and sublime. He said,
"The most beautiful thing we can experience is the mysterious. It is the source of all true art and science."
And that mystery, it's also what gives Scripture staying power. Einstein saw that. Even if he laughed at the idea of Noah's Ark surviving a global flood, he never laughed at the yearning behind it. People need hope. They need stories. They need to believe they matter. He didn't find that in prayer books or creeds. He found it in E=mc², in the elegance of a universe that made sense, even when it didn't. His God didn't punish. His God didn't save. But his God, if you can call it that, inspired. He once remarked,
"I want to know God's thoughts. The rest are details."
Einstein didn't crack open the Bible to find equations. He looked in it to understand people, why we hope, why we hurt, why we search for something bigger than ourselves. The Bible didn't explain the cosmos to him, but it did say something true about the human condition. And in that way, Einstein treated the Bible the same way he treated everything else, as something to explore, question, learn from, not to worship, not to reject, but to engage. Think about it. Shakespeare used the Bible's rhythm and words to dramatize power. Queen Victoria used it to sanctify empire. Malcolm X used it to flip the script on oppression. Einstein joined that lineup, not with sermons, but with side eyes and quiet admiration. He wasn't trying to convert anyone. He wasn't trying to destroy faith either. He was trying to live honestly in a world full of mystery, with his mind wide open. Einstein's most public controversies always seemed to orbit around the same cosmic center, his refusal to lie about what he didn't believe. And yet, he wasn't hostile, just unshakably honest. One of the most infamous moments came during a 1929 interview with Rabbi Herbert Goldstein, who asked him directly, "Do you believe in God?" Einstein's reply was classic.
"I believe in Spinoza's God, who reveals himself in the orderly harmony of what exists, not in a God who concerns himself with fates and actions of human beings."
Headlines exploded. Some theologians praised the answer, others condemned it. Theologian Paul Tillich called it deeply moving, while fundamentalist publications dubbed Einstein a spiritual anarchist. Even Time magazine couldn't resist the drama, running a cover story in 1940 titled, "Does Einstein Believe in God?" The article tiptoed around his views like it was parsing ancient scripture itself. Every quote became a Rorschach test. Believers saw hints of reverence. Skeptics saw quiet rebellion. But perhaps the most uncomfortable response came from within his own Jewish community. Some were hurt that Einstein didn't uphold traditional theism. Others tried to bend his words into orthodoxy. Einstein himself was baffled by all of it.
"It was, of course, a lie, what you read about my religious convictions,"
he said in 1945.
"A lie which is being systematically repeated. I do not believe in a personal God, and I have never denied this, but have expressed it clearly."
He wasn't being provocative, he was being precise. He wanted his beliefs, or lack thereof, to be measured by logic, humility, and awe, not headlines. To understand the real tension behind Einstein's spiritual controversies, you have to place him in the context of his time. The early 20th century was a whirlwind of theological insecurity and scientific revolution. Darwin had already shaken the foundations of Genesis. Freud was unraveling the subconscious and blaming Moses for some of it. And in the middle of it all, Einstein redefined time and space. The church wasn't sure what to do with him. Was he another Galileo, threatening to turn scripture into metaphor? Or a Moses of science, parting the intellectual seas of mystery and myth? Either way, he drew attention, and not always the good kind. In Nazi Germany, his scientific theories were denounced as Jewish physics. He fled to America, not just as a political refugee, but as a man who knew too well how sacred texts could be weaponized. Einstein saw firsthand how religion, when corrupted by nationalism, became less about humility and more about conquest. He believed in the importance of moral teachings, but he also saw how easily those teachings were buried beneath dogma and tribalism. In his view, religion needed to evolve, not to die, to outgrow fear and grow into wisdom. So the next time someone tells you the Bible and science can't live in the same brain, just smile and say, Einstein managed it. If you liked this kind of story, where belief meets brilliance, subscribe for more episodes. We're just getting started.